What is up, guys? I know it's been a while since I made a video. I know I said I was gonna start making more videos, but that didn't really happen. I get caught up in things and don't really have time or feel or have the will to make videos. So but I'll just make one here and there, hopefully, just whenever I have something going on, maybe. But here's a new video for you guys. So still have the Supra, and I do have a headlamp on, so that's probably why you see that light. So hopefully you can see. And all the way out there is the Civic. Still have that. That is now 5-speed. I swapped it because the torque converter was going out. So, and auto sucks. I hate it. So I was like, well, I have to do it anyway. So let's just 5-speed swap. So I did that. The car runs great still. No complaints. But still have the Supra. And I want to go over basically everything I've done. And I know that there hasn't been a lot of I haven't found videos. Nobody has done anything with videos or content of this car and doing things to it other than like stock stuff or the finished products. So I mean, I don't have like videos of me actually doing things, but I can go over the basics of what you'll need if you're doing what I did. So I had, is he still over here? No. My stock turbo is over there somewhere. I blew it up, the stock CT26, which was actually eBay. It was an eBay turbo. I didn't buy it. The guy before me had the eBay turbo on it. I think I might have said that in the last video. And so I blew it up, blew up the turbo. That was after the rebuilt. I rebuilt the motor, and hold on, this headlamp blows. It was not on there. There we go. I rebuilt the motor, turbo blew. Okay, basics. So I technically, what was funny is I already had my new turbo on the way when I blew it up. Just so happened, so I wasn't really mad about it. I was like, whatever, doesn't really matter. I had a new turbo coming anyways. So I'll start off. What I do have is, well, you can't really see it, but it's a Precision 5858. So it's a decent sized turbo, I guess. I was considering the 6262, but I've talked to a couple people and they said that for just what I'm doing, I'm just trying to have fun, not race it or do crazy shit to it. So they said that it'll spool a little bit quicker and you'll still make really good power. So I was like, okay, got the 5858. There it is. This manifold that I have, I'm fairly positive it's either eBay or CX Racing. What I will say about the manifold part is that this tube right here, the number 2 cylinder tube that comes down to it's a T4, so to the T4 flange, is too straight. So a big compressor housing on my turbo caused it to touch, so it wouldn't even fit to the turbo. The turbo wouldn't fit onto the manifold. So what I would suggest is buying one that you can easily look it up. But one is a straight line to it, and other ones come down and back up. I would recommend buying the one that has a bigger bend to it. First step, that's definitely what I would look at, because obviously you're going to buy a manifold. You need one for aftermarket turbos, or at least ones that require external wastegate. So that second step, I guess, after you buy a turbo. Third step, I did buy a downpipe specifically made for this car. It is off of Drift Motion. I got it for like $2 something. It was the V-band, 3-inch V-band downpipe, supposed to fit the car. Okay, no big deal. And then I also, with this downpipe, which no one ever mentioned, which sucks, is that your stock O2 sensor that goes into here obviously isn't gonna fit. Even if I move this hose, it's still not gonna fit. So you have to buy wideband O2 sensor, which I also got from Drift Motion, and made that plate to go there. It's kind of ugly, but it works. So that, and then on to fitting everything, because that's basically the first steps to it. Is down here I have a 3/4 inch spacer off of some diesel website. It's for a diesel truck, but all T4 flanges are the same. So it's a 3/4 inch spacer, so that my compressor housing doesn't touch the manifold, which it still kind of barely grazes it, which doesn't really matter, it's fine. So if you do get this manifold and you do have problems fitting your turbo, I would recommend getting a 3/4 inch spacer, or if you have a smaller turbo, get a 1/2 inch, or if you have a bigger one, then get a whole inch, or just buy a better manifold. Plain and simple. I would suggest buying the better manifold, because this is eBay and who knows when those welds are going to crack. Also down there with this manifold is my wastegate flange is pointing the wrong direction. Yep, it's a really old manifold. It came with the car. I didn't buy it, so I just wanted to use it. So that wastegate is just off of eBay. It has a 10 psi spring in it. So yeah, I had to cut a straight piece of pipe and turn it and weld it, so then I could just put that flex pipe on there to route my wastegate, or my dump tube, which is open dump tube all the way down there, if you can see it. So yeah, that's another thing. Make sure your flange is pointing the right direction. That'd be lovely. So manifold trash. I hate it. It just caused nothing but problems for this whole thing, and my best bet would have just to buy a good one. To be honest, that's what I would suggest, is just go ahead and spend the money, buy a good one, and not stop fussing with shit, because that's what I did for a while. Anyways, so second thing is, or the next thing would be these two vacuum hoses. One goes to idler control valve and one goes to the throttle body. You need those to run the car, or that I know of, you need them to run the car. I remember when I blew my turbo, I took them off to take the intake off, and I tried to start the car and it did not want to run. So I'm pretty sure you need them. So they used to come down here, and they used to bolt to here, and one on the other side. So I had to cut those. I cut those, and I got new hoses for this. Not a big deal. I mean, it doesn't really look much different to me. I think it looks better if I could easily route that, which I'll get to in a minute. So also I had a 4-inch intake on my turbo, so I had to buy a 4-inch intake from Drift Motion. It was like 40 bucks, I think. It was longer, came down to about here, but I had to cut it so I could fit my intake and AFM housing and everything. So that I had to cut. I got couplers and everything, pretty simple stuff. I already had this pipe on the car, which comes to my next thing. Is I would like to just remake this whole thing into one piece, so I could come up here and like kind of cut so it doesn't have to sit so high up, because right now it's just teeter-totter because my turbo's so high up because of the 3/4 inch spacer. So that's another problem with having a shitty manifold. Now your turbo's higher, so now intercooler is gonna fit the wrong way, because 7MGTs are stupid for having it come over the top of the motor. Could just do 1J and come down here, call it a day. It looks so much better, but no. And it's too much work to do a 1J manifold or a 2J manifold. It's hella work that is not really worth it. Broken sensor, it's lovely. So that's that. Also, with having such little room, this little 90-degree angle was very hard to fit. It's touching the sidewall, firewall, I don't know what you want to call it. So that was fun. Rerouting with the stock intercooler, that sucked. I ended up getting just tubing to go in between the stock hose into the 90 and clamped them down. So that was that. It took me a minute to figure out. So next, power steering. Power steering is right here. It looks like a pretty good position, to be honest. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it's a little tight. You wouldn't think that'd be factory because, well, it's not really held down the right way. But it used to be right here. It used to be a bracket that went to here, also where this one bolted to. Bracket and power steering literally sat right there. So obviously that was a problem. So I took the bracket out, completely gone, and I just zip tied the power steering reservoir to my AFM housing. Obviously, if you don't run power steering, good for you. You don't have to worry about that. But I like power steering. This is a big car. It's not fun to drive without it. When I bought it, it didn't have power steering, and it sucked. Even when I was moving, it still sucked. So I put it back in. Okay, so those are the parts you need, I would say, and then a few fixes to that. So onto the downpipe yet again, or exhaust, full exhaust. I had already on the car was a 3-inch catback that came with it, and it sounds okay. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I don't really like the look of it, but it's okay. So the downpipe, when your freaking turbo is this high, another problem with the manifold. Well, it probably would have been a problem either way, because there's still a little room. I had to beat my firewall in. I beat it in with just a freaking sledge while everything was out of the car. After I test fitted it to mark where I needed to hit that out, and now it fits just fine. Also, when the turbo's that high, I don't know if it was my fault or whoever made that just wasn't thinking right or was thinking as for a stock exhaust, but here's the exhaust tunnel. It was over here. So like there's the exhaust tunnel and the downpipe was over here. So I had to get that bent. I bent that pipe and then ran the exhaust. Turns out the guy who bent the downpipe bent it too far. So then now he had to bend the mid pipe, and then everything's fine now. But that was a whole freaking week ordeal trying to get this guy to bend it again, and it was at a shop. Like I can't bend pipes. So that's another thing to think about is exhaust. Your exhaust might need to be bent if it's not perfect, like perfectly lined up the way it should. But yeah, that's, what else did I do? Oil lines. Oh yeah, this is a waterless turbo. You can buy whatever you want. You can buy a oil and water turbo. This is a waterless turbo. So here's where the stock in was, and then down there is where the return was for the stock turbo, which was a water cooled turbo. So I just ran a hose from here to the return, clamped it, done. That was easy, easy fix. So what else? I think that's it, other than just like regular oil lines. Just make sure you buy the right oil lines in the right length. Super simple. Also with this manifold, I had to run 2 90s. So hard to see. They're black. They're 2 90-degree angles because I don't know, maybe I could have just gotten a fitting, I don't know, but they were cheap. 2 90s, one that comes down in this way, and then one that goes that way. So then I just hooked the oil line up to that. That was also another weak thing. This is why now I see why people with these cars always take forever to get them put back together. It's just one thing after another. I'm just, if you're ever gonna do that, just don't plan on getting the car ready in a month. It's just not gonna happen. You're gonna have one thing after the another that you're gonna run into. So that's about it though. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a pain in my ass, I'll tell you that. I had to re-tap the head because every single exhaust bolt, exhaust stud was stripped out, which I didn't do. It was already like that. It was leaking when I bought the car, and every single one was stripped out. So I freaking drilled it out and tapped it to a bigger size. that was done. So yeah, turbo upgrade. There you go. That's about it. On with a few other things that I've done. I did cruise control delete because I have quick release steering wheel. So the stock cruise control settings are on the stock steering wheel. So, and I don't plan on driving this car very much, so I don't need it. I don't even think it worked, to be honest. So I took that out. It looks so much better. And I cleaned, obviously. I cleaned a lot. I moved a few things around that weren't there, obviously. And this headlamp is dead too, so that one's pointless. Recently, what's been holding me up was this. It's called a heater control valve. Yeah, that's took me a minute to figure that out too. I broke this where this there's like a connection that goes on about that far. Broke off. I just grabbed this hose. I grabbed it just a little bit, just like that, and it broke right off. That'd be funny if it happened again. Not really, that would suck. So it broke off. I have a plastic welder. Well, it's basically just a soldering iron, a big soldering iron. So I try and melt it back together, and it still leaked. So I drove like 2 hours to Greensboro to get another one. That was yesterday. Yesterday I did. Put that in. That works fine. Okay, so that's about it for the engine bay, I think. So on to this freaking mess. Yeah, that's digital ECG tuner 3. I don't even know if that'll work, but yeah, there's a lot of bare wires, so I know it's ghetto and can really cause problems, but right now I'm just having nothing but problems with this thing. So this is a great piece of technology, so I hear, but for people who are running stock turbo, stock motor and everything. So it didn't really help me much. It enables you to tune the car. I mean, that's basically what it's for. You tune it and really that's it. But the problem with the stock ECU is that fuel cut kicks in around 10 to 11 psi. So obviously that doesn't help me at all because I'm not trying to run 10 or 11. I'm trying to run a lot more than that. So what I bought was HKS fuel cut defender. You're supposed to wire it in, and they have different settings on it, and it's supposed to eliminate fuel cut defender, I guess. It's supposed to raise fuel cut so you can tune to whatever PSI you're trying to accomplish, I guess. So I bought it, and I bought one, and I looked on the forums, and it turns out it was missing a wire. It only had 4, it was supposed to have 5. So, and that's another thing. If you're going to listen to me at all, listen to this. If you want to buy a fuel cut defender, do not buy the new one from HKS. It doesn't work for the car unless somebody has found a way to make it work. But the way that I read on the forums is that sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. Maybe like if you have a 90 to 91, it'll work. But if you have 89 below, it doesn't. I don't know. So, but I'll tell you that it doesn't work on my car. It's called the standard HKS FCD. The one that I need is the HKS FCD fuel cut defender FCD type K3. That's the one you need. It has 5 wires. And the 5th wire, 2 of them come from the AFM signal. One goes through the FCD and back out to the ECU. I'm guessing that's what changes it. And then 2 are battery, is positive and one's negative. And then the 5th one is for the igniter. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to do, but that's just what they say. So I have gotten that one. It's the old one. I found somebody who had one. I just ordered it today. So it'll be here in a few weeks because it's from Cali and I got ground shipping, so that should be fun. So that should be here in a few weeks, maybe a week or two. So, and then when I wire that in, car should be ready. But I've had nothing but problems with it. Oh yeah, and I ended up ordering another one that was supposed to be the right one. Well, they sent me the same thing they sent me the first time. So I tried to install it to figure out that it didn't work. I tried everything. Anything you could think of, I tried. So it doesn't work. I put it back in the box and hopefully they'll take it back. So, so yeah, correct FCD is on the way, and then hopefully tuned shortly after that. But if there's any questions you guys want to, anything you want to know about, because I know there's really not a lot on these cars at all. Yeah, if there's anything with basically the whole car, I've gone through the whole thing, really. Like, to be honest, everything in the engine bay and nothing with wiring. Don't ask me. I'm lost when it comes to wiring. Like, to be honest, I'm just lost. But anything motor wise, engine bay wise, what's there, what's not there, what you need, what you don't need, turbo upgrade, what turbo I went with, which I said, but you can ask me anyways. Anything at all, because I know there's not a lot on it, just go ahead and leave a comment below and I will get back to you. But here it is. Figured I'd share it. And no bumper, there it is. I repainted it because it used to be all messed up. Well, you could still see the mad pitting. But also, another thing, when you're going to take the motor out of one of these cars, take the front bumper off, because it is just so in the way. I didn't realize that the bumper was already messed up, so I just rammed the freaking cherry picker right into it, and it screwed it up pretty bad. So there's also pitting back here. So, oh yeah, my exhaust just sticks out 3 to 4 inches. Another thing with the downpipe, it's about 2 to 3 inches longer. So yeah, keep that in mind too. It really is. It's 2 to 3 inches longer, which is making my exhaust stick out 2 to 3 inches. So yeah, that's fun. I want to get rid of it and just straight pipe from the axle back. So that'll be coming up eventually, and I have a lot of other plans. But if there are any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.